friends recently told me, she was like, oh, Carmen, like, I can't believe you still hang out with your high school friends. And I'm like, oh yeah, not only do we hang out, we actually do events together, we volunteer together, we go to the beach and picnic together. So it really surprised her that when she heard that we are actually an organization that does things together. So I proudly told her, yeah, like, we're an organization. We like to discuss different topics of interest, like elections today, but also financial management, skincare, bartending, whatever. So here at Spread, we are building a community that celebrates the individual, pursues knowledge, and also has fun together. Today we are coming together to discuss the future of our city and its residents. And as a young adult who's growing up thinking about her future, thinking about living in expensive San Francisco, thinking about raising children in SF, and growing in my career, I see how government policies affect my life every single day, and I want to partake in this huge influence. Props to everyone here today for coming out early in Saturday morning to think about what kind of changes or not changes you want to see in the city. I look forward to hearing all of your thoughts, and with that, I'm just going to pass it to Stephen, who's going to lead the discussion today.
Thank you. We're here to make decisions that will improve our society, right? We're in like a group project right now. Group project is called San Francisco.
Whoa.
Or the group project is called California.
What?
Or the group project is called America. And our group mates, guess what? It's each other. We are all in this group thing together. So we gotta decide what we want to do collectively together. You know, we organize ourselves by paying taxes, right? We pay to giant pools of money. We gotta decide what to do with that money. Who's gonna make decisions for us, and through our consent, right? Now this only works best if we don't only pick policies that benefit us individually, but policies that will benefit society as a whole, right? That's how the whole thing's gonna work better. Have you guys ever heard of the veil of ignorance? Anyone?
What is that?
No political theory major. Okay, all right. All right, it's a philosophical idea. It's a thought experiment that says that a just society is one that we would build if we had no idea what our circumstances would be, right? Like if you had no idea you were going to be Asian or Black, or you're going to be rich or poor, what rules would you choose for a society, right? So if I could flip a coin, you could be anybody. You could be a hobo on the street. You could be Jeff Bezos. What rules would you choose, right? Because you didn't know what you're going to be. So that's the kind of idea that you want to go into when you're thinking about like what rules are we going to pick today, right? What decisions are we going to make? Does anyone have any other examples of like that veil of ignorance? Like what circumstances are people in that, you know, that they're just random, right? Like what?
Disability.
There you go, disability. Yeah. Gender, but you don't know if you're gonna be male or female. So while you're making a rule, why would you say, you know, these people should be whatever, you know, should have less power or what have you? So something to keep in mind as we make decisions today. So for every proposition that we're going to talk about, I think we'll only talk about four of these propositions, just because we're going to go for about 2 hours. You're not going to go longer than that. So we're only interested in kind of the last page right now. I'll just quickly go over. You're also going to be thinking about governor, senator, a bunch of state offices. So, you know, take your time if you want to look through these, and we'll talk about these after maybe our allotted time if you want to stick around and talk about it. But basically, there's a lot of stuff. We're not going to cover everything today. But what we are going to cover are these questions, these propositions, and we're probably only going to do 4. So there's going to be many ways to argue about each of these. For example, if there was a question that said, should 16-year-olds vote, right? There's different ways to look at it, right? You can argue that one, maybe they're not fully developed, right? So your argument there is going to be that they're not, developmentally sound and therefore they should or should not vote. You can also say that they don't have enough experience in society, right? So there's a experience question, right? So you see how there's different areas where you can say, well, this area, just based on this, that my position on this sentence, they don't have enough experience. That's going to determine how I'm going to vote, right? So basically, what I'm saying is we try to write out and identify each of these little areas, because maybe for you, the experience question is what's going to decide how you're going to vote on that question, right? Maybe for somebody else, it's something else. So basically, what we're trying to do today is have an organized way of looking at these questions, right? Different aspects of the questions, and not just how I feel, just like, I'm not going to read anything. Oh, kids are done, right? My cousin, he's retarded, they're done, right? So we're trying to have a little more discipline when we're talking about these questions, okay? So when an argument sways you, one way or the other, we're going to try to identify that value or that principle where we can bring that to the table and have a discussion around it, right? So when you say, hey, the kids aren't experienced, right? Maybe somebody else will have some, they might have like stats papers and they maybe have a lot of evidence that might be able to sway you, or they'll just have other stories, right? So in this way, we can have more intelligent discourse about all these topics that we're expected to decide on, right? Because the city is really not that big, and not a lot of people are voting. So your vote actually has, a pretty decent effect. Okay. So in general, this will lead to better conversations and it's supposed to lead to a better society, right? If we can properly translate this more disciplined way of talking about things, we can connect that to the people who actually make the decisions, right? Then theoretically, democracy will be better, okay? So with that being said, why don't we try to identify 4 questions that we want to talk about today? Because I think there's a total of 6, so maybe we can pick 4 from these. Okay, why don't I read them out just so we know what we're doing. Okay, the first one is, should we authorize more money? The city will borrow money to fund munis, reliability, safety, and street safety, so on. Okay, so that's a pretty standard one. Next is number B. Should the city amend the charter to change how we appoint building inspection commission members? Okay, and there's some pretty interesting background on that one too. C is what Will just mentioned, the recalling rules. That's interesting as well.
Anybody want any tea? Bring tea.
Yeah.
Sure.
D, shall the city create an office of victim and witness rights? E, behested payments. Behested payments are, there's a whole thing. We'll get into it if we're going to get into this one, okay? Behested payments is behested payments, okay? They are, yeah. A behested payment is a donation that is solicited by a public official. So like an elected official or a agency head. No, it's like maybe I'm like the head of the park and rec department, right? And I'm going to these nonprofits or these rich people and say, hey, we could use some money to fund this park. That is a behested payment. So the question is, should we kind of restrict? Should we not allow this at all? Because there's issue, there could be issues there, right? Yeah. So there's argument for and against. So if we want to get into that, we'll get into that. F. Well, but I didn't even know this was on it. Refuse rate board. Oh, this is about this is like garbage collection. Yeah. So yeah, should we change the membership of the rate board? Okay. Yeah, because right now I think only one company does garbage in San Francisco, right? Right. So this is about like how do we negotiate our rates with them. So if you guys want to talk about that. G is paid employee sick leave.
Yes, please.
You want to talk about that one? Okay. So yeah. So I mean, we'll pick 4 for now, and then we'll get into more if we want. So we're gonna do C and H. Anybody have anything that out of those that I just mentioned are interesting that we want to talk about? This one's Okay, so we got C, H, E, and G. Okay, we'll run with this for now.
Yep.
We'll start with G.
So carbohydrates with a K.
Okay, so for G, we'll start with G because that's kind of a relatively simple one.
Shall the city require employers with more than 100 employees worldwide to provide paid public health emergency leave, not to exceed 80 hours a year for their employees in San Francisco? Digest.
Let me try to pull up the actual thing.
I want to speak, but the salary is not chewing away.
The way it is now, the city generally requires employers to provide employees with paid sick leave based on hours worked in San Francisco. The city also provides its employees with paid sick leave. The city does not have a law addressing paid public health emergency leave.
1st, 2022, Proposition G would generally require private employers and the city to provide paid leave to employees for public health emergencies. This requirement would apply to private employers with more than 100 employees worldwide and would cover only their employees working in San Francisco. The amount of leave provided each year would equal to the number of hours that each employee regularly works over a 2-year period, up to a maximum of 80 hours. This leave can be used only during a public health emergency. A public health emergency includes a local health emergency relating to any infectious disease, as declared by a local or state health official, or when a spare the air alert is in effect.
Oh wow, spare the air too.
That's a COVID, yeah.
Wait, spare the air. Spare the air is pretty common though, huh?
Thank you.
Isn't it spare the?
I think it's only common probably like when there's wildfires.
When there's fires. So this is also affecting private employers? Oh, that's a big deal. I thought it was only public.
Employees may use public health emergency leave in several circumstances, including when the employee or their family member is unable to work due to the recommendations or requirements of a health order addressing the emergency. The employee or their family member experiences symptoms of the disease causing the emergency or test positive for the disease. Or the employee primarily works outdoors and has lung or heart disease, has respiratory problems, is pregnant, or is at least 60 years old when a spare the air alert is in effect.
This is intended for COVID, right?
No, it's yeah.
Can't apply to any.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, link the PDF if you need it.
monkeypox, it will not be included because that is a skin contact.
Good point. Good point. So it's only infectious.
I like your pen and your cups.
Thank you. They're probably older than I am.
Oh, it still looks so new too.
Ancient
Oh, it's so cute.
Anybody who wants to?
Nice.
An employee may choose to use public health emergency leave or paid sick leave in circumstances where both could apply. Any unused public health emergency leave does not carry over to the next year. A yes vote means if you vote yes, you want to require private employee with more than 100 employees worldwide and the city to provide paid public health emergency leave, not to exceed 80 hours a year for their employee in San Francisco. A no vote means if you vote no, you do not want to require this new paid public health emergency leave.
I think it's a slam dunk.
Yeah.
Extra benefits, please.
I mean, this is gonna be affecting to big corporation. It's
Really?
not gonna be small mom and pop shop.
Yeah. So
100
Worldwide.
employees.
only people who
Worldwide.
already
Okay.
afford it.
Yeah, but
But it would
you-
also affect nonprofits.
That's true.
Yes, nonprofit would be worldwide.
Like, my question is, why is this not already in place? Like, why do we not already have this, right? This is something that I think all workers should have.
True.
Is this on top of your sick leaves?
On top, it will be
Yeah.
additional. So I believe. So let's say I can make a scenario. Let's say you only had 10 hours sick leave that you earned it throughout the year.
Mhm.
But all of a sudden you catch COVID. You tested out positive, you cannot go to work. So this law right now, they were in place for a temporary.
Right.
So right now it expired on September 1st of this year. If you had COVID and then you called in sick, if you stated, I catch COVID, I tested out positive, here's a picture proof of the tester or the result. The company will pay you up to 80 hours of recovery time. And that's 10 days, that's 2 weeks, because 5 working days.
Yeah.
And that doesn't get paid out by the company. That's why
Yeah.
the company are willing to do it. Once they pay you the 80 hours, the company file a claim against the city, and then they will get reimbursement. So some company does it one way, sometimes do it the other. So there's 2 ways to do it. They just do it with the law, so you get 80 hours to use, and they will not affect your paperwork, like your record. Some company do it, they give you advance. If they get denied it, then you on advance in the sick time. If they get approved, then they reimburse you the sick hours. Yeah, so yeah.
But generally,
Mhm.
it's intended so, corporations and nonprofits are not on the hook for the sick pay, right?
That was the COVID stuff, right?
Right.
But with this, they would be on the
Yeah, it will be everyone.
Oh.
Yeah.
So they would be responsible for like getting reimbursed.
They're not gonna get reimbursed. They're not gonna get not with
Not
this.
anymore. So that's only for the COVID time,
Oh.
and it expires soon.
To pay. This is basically like extra.
Additional.
Hmm.
So if you don't use it, they didn't need to pay you because you cannot carry it over. And then if you needed it, it will be like out of their kind of a heart to pay you the 80 hours and to keep you into the work. Because if they don't pay you and then you're out of job, and then you might go start somewhere else. Just one method of keeping an employee in this time.
Yeah. So I mean, arguments against it are basically that it would cause an undue financial strain on these businesses, right? That is the main argument against it. If anyone wants to speak to that, or how are people leaning? I mean, I'm sure
So
Boudin is saying yes.
Yeah.
I lean in favor.
You lean in favor? Yeah.
Because I don't think it's a huge burden because it's probably not going to come into effect like very often. It depends upon a public health emergency declaration, right? That's the big thing.
Yeah.
Or a spare the air alert in the event of
oh yeah,
60-year-old.
gotta talk about that too. Spare the air is pretty.
They're pretty.
That makes it more generous, right? Like it's.
Yeah.
If it was just COVID or just infectious disease, that's one thing. And then spare the air. I mean, we'd have to look it up, but I think we have maybe like 20 spare the air days a year at least. So that's like, I don't know, if you were the boss of a company that's 100 or more, and you expect some people to use the the new sick days during spare the air, is that are we concerned about if that will affect society, right? Or are we not really?
Well, the spare the air thing only applies this year to employees who work outdoor if they have a heart condition or lung disease, breathing issues, pregnant, or at least 60 years old. So it's not just.
Oh, so they have to meet those
one
requirements.
of those criteria.
Okay.
It's not just any old.
Dude, everyone's just gonna start having asthma.
Yeah, right.
Ooh, yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
How often
Only
spare the air?
80 hours a year.
All right. Well, last time we had a beach bonfire, there was a spare the air day alert. And we did not set a fire, and then everybody else did. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
But they're pretty common. They just don't get a lot of notification. Like they're not
Yeah, I've never heard.
broadcast a lot.
Yeah.
Big company gonna against it.
Yeah.
Because
They don't
first they're gonna have the consideration of people gonna abuse it, obviously.
Yeah. So the big companies, I mean, I'm less concerned about the big companies out there. We're talking about the like 100, 150 employees.
Borderline.
Is that going to break the bank for them? You think? Like,
Well,
is it going to
yeah.
cause some percentage of companies to go out of business? What do you think? Is that a concern? All right, we're looking at a whole society here. You know what I mean?
5 spare the air alerts in 2021, 46 in 2020, 3 in 2019, 18 in 2018.
Oh wow.
That's pretty few.
Well, 2020 was like 50. That's crazy.
That was the year when we had like the red sky.
Yeah.
Didn't we have that last year though? Didn't we have that last year?
we
Nah,
didn't.
that was 2022.
Feels like last year because 2020 and 2021.
That's
feel like
true.
the same year.
COVID stuff. Yeah.
It depends on the wildfire season, really.
Mm.
Yeah, exactly.
Fired
Yeah.
on Lakeshore.
but it wasn't enough to like really like I didn't smell it. I don't know, did you smell it?
I did.
Yeah.
Pissed me off.
All right.
My
be like,
work
yo, I
is
need to
right out that exit.
Oh,
I got to the exit, they closed the road at the U-turn and hit the freeway.
oh, this is because they closed the road.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Boudin, James. Oh, James is on the chat.
James is leaving the country, bro. He's ditching our group project. Dude.
What?
That's fucked up.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, right here. What's off, dude?
Don't leave us, James. Stay in America.
We'll see. We'll see if I get on this plate at first.
How do you feel about these sick days for public emergencies?
I don't think it's a big deal. I like it. I'm in favor for it. Use it or lose it, right? But it doesn't hurt anybody to have them.
Yeah, can only be using this.
Who wants to be devil's advocate?
Putting there's against.
Yeah, there's against.
I'll read it.
Is it a good argument?
No.
Oh,
Proposition G imposes onerous additional burdens on local businesses that are already struggling with San Francisco's mismanagement of the COVID-19 pandemic. Worse yet, Proposition G exempts City Hall-aligned nonprofits from its requirements. What does that mean?
So nonprofits don't have this?
Wait.
Yeah.
What?
Or it doesn't apply
I
to
believe.
Oh, private employers. Isn't that still nonprofits?
Good question.
That's confusing.
I work for a nonprofit.
So you're exempt. I don't know if that's good or not.
Oh yeah, that's bad.
I'm sorry. City Hall aligned nonprofits.
Oh, we gotta fact check that then.
Yeah. What does that mean? City Hall line.
We'll have to look at
So
the freaking legal
They
stuff.
make everyone else do it, but they're
Yeah.
That's what the argument is.
So I guess
claiming.
the word private actually means private and not nonprofit.
Like profit seeking.
Well, I think they mentioned that because like public job, like for example, teachers, we already have this COVID pay. We've had it already, and the union fought for it to give it to us. Whereas private companies don't exactly have that right now.
Yeah, so they're just trying to make it. This proposition would make it so that private employees from private employers of a certain size would get some of the same benefits that we who work for the city have already received, just because we're cool. It'd make everybody cool. I'm for it. I don't know.
I mean, either way, I think it's a step in the right direction.
Does anybody want to stand up and be heard
I'm trying to think like what
in
else.
opposition?
Yeah, like what else arguments can you possibly see that? Just like financial.
Like I'm actually really curious because it says like employers with more than 100 employees. Are there actually small businesses with like more than 100 employees?
Well, at that point, it's like a medium size.
Yeah.
Wait, that's what I'm saying, right? Like so that's why I'm saying like the paid argument that's in the booklet doesn't really quite make sense.
Good point, Bunny.
Right? Because it says shall the city require employers with more than 100 employees worldwide?
Yeah.
And at that point, it's like, wait, what? Is that even a small business anymore? Like,
ooh, let me. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
How about franchise? Franchise owned by a owner, but they franchise off a big corporation. So are they under?
No, but it clearly says more than 100 employees worldwide. So like,
yeah,
because they fall under the franchise, it's a franchise, right? So like, I'm pretty sure they like Starbucks employees all throughout the city count towards Starbucks as a whole.
And they would acquire this benefit. Here's a scenario. What if there's a company that has exactly 100 employees? This thing gets passed, and they're like, "Hey, how do we dodge this?
Oh yeah,
Let's fire this guy."
Sorry, Bob.
Sorry, Mom.
That's true.
But I feel like some corporations are already,
the
ones who engage in that are already engaging in that for tax purposes and whatnot in order to be.
This is a write-off.
Yeah. So I mean, so that probably will happen. Yeah. But in the big picture, is that worth it?
I think I'm in favor. What can I say?
Yeah, I'm in favor.
You should protect Bob.
If not Bob, it's gonna be Jim, bro.
Next thing.
Yeah. Does anyone have any more comments on this? Is anyone like in the middle? Is anyone in the middle, right? Does anyone pretty much know where they're going with this? Yeah.
It's very interesting.
All right.
I remember when the city gave us COVID hours, and I was like, oh, okay, sure.
Yeah, I know somebody that said he had COVID. to get paid.
I used literally 1 hour to
Oh,
go
actually,
get.
you.
Get a shot.
Yeah.
Why didn't you use 2 hours, bro? Come on.
I use 3 days because my company.
Because he was on probation.
COVID leave, there's the vaccine leave. You get your vaccine, you get 3 days.
For free.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah,
So you
can
can
recover. Yeah.
It's nice.
What about the boosters? You also
Yeah.
get 3 days?
Yeah. All vaccines. All COVID vaccines.
Wow, that's nice.
What was the next one we agreed upon?
Okay, let's move into our next one. It's gonna be the recalling of the Chesa Boudin.
Whoa, who's that?
Chesa Boudin's out. No, just kidding.
Wow, that's crazy.
Professor Zhao.
Here's what we're gonna do, and we're gonna split up. All right, we're gonna split up in 2 groups, and we're gonna do like a for and against. Okay, we're gonna do some research, right? We're gonna spend about 25 minutes researching, and then 20 minutes debating, or whatever, play by ear. Okay, so we'll start the timer at 11:15. We have another room if we can go there. We'll split it kind of in half. We'll do 4-4. Why don't I stay out of it? And then, ready, break. Come back at 11. 11 plus 25.
Why don't we just do in the same room? Who's pro and who's con?
Okay, we'll see what we come out to.
Pro, con, question mark.
Decide amongst you. Okay, you guys are pro then. You 4 are pro.
In favor of recall?
Yeah.
Okay.
11:40. Okay. And then
Yes, please.